Good evening, good folks, and welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission work session for this Monday, December 11th, 2023. May we have roll call, please?
Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Hood,
Here.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Here.
Vice Mayor German, absent, Commissioner Gorman,
Here.
Commissioner Emery,
Here.
Commissioner St. Clair.
Here.
Thank you. All right, before we get into our business for this evening, which is mainly discussions and updates, no expected votes of any kind. Just want to remind people there's public comment period for work sessions. Our public comment period is at the end of the meeting, so if you wish to give any public comment, we do have comment forms in the back room. Encourage you to complete it. Provide your name and home address. I will not be sharing your home address nor asking you to share your home address publicly. There's also an opportunity for people to phone in public comment. At the appropriate time, the phone number will scroll at the bottom of the screen, and folks can call in and give their public comment that way. They'll also have 3 minutes to provide remarks, whether by phone or in person. Again, that will be the end of this evening's agenda for our work session. All right, City Commission Ethics Policy. Mr. Manager.
Yes. So at a previous LPC meeting, we discussed putting together an ethics policy for the commission. During our research on that, after the fact, Barb Schollenberger found the current ethics policy that a previous commission had adopted. So rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, staff thought we would share the policy that had previously been adopted by the commission for informational purposes, and to allow the commission to discuss to see if there's anything that they would like tweaked about this, keeping in mind that obviously next month we'll have a new commission seated. But since this document is out there, I wanted to share it with everyone so that there was some knowledge about it and then to have a discussion around it. So the depth of the discussion or thoughts or feedback on it is the prerogative of the commission at this point, but since the document existed, I wanted to share it.
All right.
Excuse me.
So that document was included in our work session packet, so everyone should have an opportunity to have reviewed that. Are there any questions from your review of that, or any feedback of any sort? Whether things you may not like in the current policy, or things that you may wish to have it added or otherwise modified? Commissioner Emery.
I am the one who brought this up at the LPC meeting. So I read through it. I don't have my computer with me right now, but I read through this. Thank you, Mr. Manager, and Barb for finding this. I like it, and I didn't see anything that needed to be improved, in my opinion. Anyway.
Thank you, Commissioner Emery. Any other thoughts? I mean, ultimately, this will be brought to the next commission, whether at a work session or maybe LPC meeting or something, before any formal action is taken to either just allow this policy to exist as is, or to modify the policy, or supplant it altogether. But I doubt we would supplant it, but potentially tweak it. I know there's one reference that I would like to have tweaked, and there may be some additions as well. I looked at it. There's a reference to going double Dutch, or going Dutch.
That's true. Yeah.
Or not double Dutch, going Dutch, and that should not be in our policy.
Right.
Yeah.
So that comment will need to be, that reference will need to be better explained as to what that entails, rather than using an outdated phrase.
Ethnic.
Yes. So that one will need to be removed.
Mm-hmm.
Glad you caught that.
Never in my wildest dreams, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. How long ago was this? This policy
This was in the-
over a decade ago.
Yeah,
The
it was.
19
Was this from the 90s? Or
No, this was from
this
the early 2000s.
early 2000s.
I believe it was 2008.
Oh, okay. But before any of our times on this commission.
I'm glad you caught it. I didn't.
Yes.
I did notice that. I guess one additional bit of feedback that I would have for the commission is I think it would be my recommendation is from an administrative standpoint that at the organizational meeting of each commission that the ethics policy be adopted, reapproved, however you want to say it, so that way it's more at the forefront. And then if there are any changes that would be made, maybe the outgoing commission could make those recommendations, having had the what's the word I'm looking for? Having had to live under it, I guess, would be the right way to say it.
Wisdom of experience.
The wisdom of experience. There we go. Yeah.
No, I think that's sensible to have that at the organizational meeting, just to bring that to the forefront of mind. We need to make sure, that that is being shared with all commissioners as they're coming online, and then that's an opportune time, knowing it's going to be on the organizational agenda, that they'll be receiving that, and all existing commissioners will be reminded of it. We need to make sure practices, though, of this policy being shared with every single employee of the city of Muskegon, because this ethics policy does not apply to just the city commission. It applies to every single employee of the city of Muskegon. So we need to look at our practices of how it is shared and reinforced at the same time. Commissioner St. Clair.
I really like the way that this is written. It's in very user-friendly language that is very clear and uncomplicated. It's not government speak or legalese at all, and I think that there's a lot of value to that. So other than the one phrase, I think it's current and applicable, and I like the idea of readopting it every year or every organizational, and so I guess every 2 years, just to keep it on front of people's minds.
In which case, if we're going to be putting this on the agenda for organizational meeting, I think we need to have a timeline in which any existing or new coming commissioners have an opportunity to give feedback to staff, so that can be taken into account when it's brought to our organizational meeting. Because if there are suggestions for modifications, I think we'd want to have that written down and shared, rather than at the meeting, but like, hey, I'd like to change this, and we're kind of making changes on the fly. I think it'd be better for that input to be received in advance and then disseminated in writing before the organizational meeting. In which case, I'd heard that we're looking at the organizational meeting to be on Wednesday, January 3rd.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. At 5:30? Same time?
Yeah, just a regular, well, not a regular meeting, 'cause it's a Wednesday, but the regular time. In this instance, because this is the first time you all are seeing this policy, perhaps what we do is go through and update for current language,
Okay.
and then
Then we can look at tweaking.
and then we can look at tweaking it at maybe the second meeting of the month or something like
That
that.
seems sensible.
So then that way you guys have time to do that, and I will. Madam Clerk, if you could help me remember to have this as a part of our informational packet for Thursday.
Yes.
So we have our orientation meeting with the new commissioners on Thursday all day. And so we'll go over different policies and things, and so we'll make sure that this is included in that packet. And we'll let them know that it'll be discussed at the organizational meeting, but then we'll do adoption at one of the other meetings in January. So if you all see anything that you think, either outgoing or returning commissioners, that you think should be changed, whether it's the how you're paying for a meal language, or the deputy city manager also texted me about the use of the word, how the use of the word citizen is used in here, maybe making sure that's inclusive as well. If there's any other things like that, we can tweak. So.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions at this time, commissioners? No? Okay. If you do have any additional feedback, please get that to our city manager and city clerk. All right, moving on to Muskegon Mute Swan Control Program.
Also me. So this is a request that we've received from the Conservation District. They have made this request of all municipalities that border inland lakes in Muskegon County. North Muskegon, Montague, and Whitehall have already approved this same resolution. And essentially what it's saying is that we support the Muskegon Conservation District and the Michigan Department of Natural Resources engaging in population control for mute swans, which are a non-native species on our inland waters. I did talk to some folks who are related to the conservation districts and advocates for this. Most of the swans in question are actually, they don't nest in or along Muskegon's side of the shoreline. It's actually more towards Snug Harbor on the northwest portion of Muskegon Lake. But because obviously we border the lake, they would like our support of this. So the resolution that will be up for tomorrow night is the exact same resolution that the other municipalities have posted. We also have letters of support from the DNR, from Muskegon Lake Water Shed Partnership, from the Michigan Audubon Society, and WEMAC supporting this program and the need for it, just for how these non-native swans, how aggressive they are, how they impact the native swan, trumpeter swan population, and then other water life in the inland areas. So, yeah. And I do believe a couple of the commissioners have been asked about this multiple times.
Multiple times. But thank you, Jonathan, for finally getting to it. I'm very concerned about the effect that they're having on our lake, and especially for our neighbors all around who are already doing this difficult work. So it's only appropriate for us to show up and bear our load as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramsey. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any other questions or thoughts you wish to share on this topic, Commissioners? Okay. This is on the consent agenda for tomorrow's general session meeting. So if anyone at home watching wishes to give comment on this, you do have an opportunity at the beginning of tomorrow's meeting to give public comment on this item or any other items on the general session agenda. All right, moving on to the next item, Nelson House project update. Get an update from our planning department. Welcome, Planner Pesh.
Good evening, everybody.
How are you?
Pretty good. So, since the last update at the August 22nd City Commission meeting, and I suppose a brief update at the joint school board meeting, I just wanted to keep everybody up to date on where we stand with this project. So I have a number of things. The last one I'll go into more detail on. So first, staff is continuing to work with Muskegon Public Schools to align our project timelines for this, and to work with Dietz House Movers to make sure that all the technical aspects of the project are still being addressed. We have drawn up potential site plans that would help determine the rough footprint of the house as it will sit on the new lot at 382 West Muskegon Avenue. The Historic District Commission approved moving the house from outside of a historic district into a historic district. And we've also begun initial communications with the utility companies responsible for any overhead wires on the route of the move. Muskegon Public Schools has staged soil near the house for filling in the hole that would be left by the house's basement. And then the thing that I want to expand on is that Muskegon Public Schools has completed 2 phases of asbestos testing at the house. So the first round of testing revealed that asbestos was found in the tested areas of drywall and joint compound, pipe insulation, and that's the areas that could be accessed for testing, the texture on plaster and gypsum board in the house, and further, asbestos was assumed to be located in the flooring, the roofing, the siding, and the pipe insulation within the walls and ceilings, and that's pipes that they could not access because it would require them to disrupt the known asbestos in the texture on the plaster and gypsum board. So the negative side of this is that the total abatement costs from the contractor that the school district consulted with were in the range of $250,000, which is far more than I think any of us had seen in a single house. We don't have a very detailed breakdown of what those costs are and what they require. Again, it's one consulting firm that's looked through it up to this point. So with that price in mind, they asked them to go back and take a more detailed look at what's in the house. The second phase of testing showed that the flooring and the siding, which were both previously assumed to contain asbestos, didn't actually have any asbestos. The roofing and the pipe insulation within the walls and the ceilings is the only remaining items where it is assumed that there is asbestos. They still can't test them. The roof, they want to avoid creating roof leaks. And in the case of the pipe insulation within the walls, they want to avoid destructive inspection due to the known presence of asbestos in the texture on the walls. Basically, if you don't disturb existing asbestos, it doesn't have to be an issue. And in doing that, they assumed, as is the case in many older houses, that often the pipes are wrapped in asbestos material. Despite that additional testing, they are still sticking to the $250,000 remediation cost. So, knowing, working with Dan Dietz from Dietz House Movers, that all that would really need to be abated is what's below the first floor joists. They were able to separate out that price at $22,000 of that total expense. And then there's an additional $8,000 that would recover the other cleanup in the house that's needed before any work can take place inside the house. And like I said, the asbestos below the floor joists is the only abatement that's completely necessary to do before moving the house. So that leaves us with a very large price tag for what would be full abatement of the house. But to go into the next steps, it's still preferable to abate the entire house before moving it. Any restoration undertaken by a future owner would likely require disrupting the walls and the texture that tested for asbestos, and also removing and addressing the existing pipes within those walls. This would be the case for anybody that's looking to run new electrical, new plumbing, new HVAC in the house, which is probably very likely for anybody that's renovating. And considering the high estimate received so far, any abatement work that's left to a future owner would very likely have significant cost implications for a restoration project. And it could also make it potentially more difficult to sell the house, knowing that that exists in the house. Further, we know that asbestos abatement is going to be necessary whether the house is saved and moved or whether it's demolished. So city staff and school board and school staff are looking to compare the cost between a demolition with abatement outcome, which is the house is demolished, but the debris is typically it needs to be kept wet to keep the asbestos down from getting out into the air, and then taken to a certified landfill, which often adds expense to a project. And then the alternative would be abatement without demolition. So that would be a situation where the house is saved, but abatement work must be more meticulous, which could add to the costs. We feel that before any decisions are settled on, we would want to be able to compare those two costs. Should they be similar, or should the cost of abating and saving the house be lower, we would continue on with the project, ideally having the schools contribute to the cost of abatement that they would otherwise have to pay for demolition. And if abatement with demolition is far less expensive, we're going to have to decide whether it makes financial sense to continue on with this project for all the reasons that I mentioned about passing those costs on to a future homeowner. So the plan at this point is to work with the school district to have another contractor walk through for a second opinion on the current estimate that's received, and then to have a point of comparison for the cost associated with demolition with abatement versus abatement without demolition. I think that gives a good summary of where we're at so far. Definitely a strange scenario where you have a plaster on the walls that's finished with a texture that has asbestos in it. Some of the other things are a little more typical of older construction. And then, like I said, a lot of these things are still assumed, so there hasn't been testing done in some areas of the house. But trying to be conservative in their estimation, the contractor went ahead and included those just in case that does end up being the case. So it does complicate the issue, no doubt, but we're hopeful that in getting these cost estimates, we can have some baseline comparisons between the two and decide if this does make sense. And we're thrilled that the school district is still willing to work with us through all this, and Dan Dietz has been very patient in the process and as we continue to work with the school district.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pesh. Appreciate that update, and moreover, really appreciate your efforts, ongoing efforts, to save this piece of Muskegon's history. Commissioners, do you have any questions or thoughts to share at this time? Commissioner Ramsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could someone jog my memory? I know that this was discussed, as Jamie shared, at the joint meeting, but didn't the school say that they might be open to shouldering some of these costs with the abatement because they were going to have to do it anyway? Or do I not recall that right, Jamie?
I think that's the same that I was getting at there, is that demolition is going to require some level of abatement. Right. The way they approach it is different typically, at least in my discussions with our building inspections department. But I think that they're willing to allocate funds for the cost that they would have to pay if that were the route that they went. If we're able to save it and if that pricing really works out, I think they would still be willing to contribute what they would have otherwise.
That was also my feeling, and so as you were saying that, I was like, I'm almost certain that they were like, yeah, we can help with that. So I'm excited to hear that that is a thing, and that you also feel that they were saying that too. And great work, thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramsey. Any other comments or questions, commissioners? No? All right. So when do you think you might have the information with regard to the estimates and then, comparing costs and potentially bringing something back to the commission for us to decide yay or nay? Is it something that we really want to continue?
I have a meeting with
working on?
Dietz later this week to talk with one of their engineers about this process, and they have a contractor that they've used in the past that they've recommended. Take a walk through the house, and we'll be looking to do that as soon as possible. I know the school district is going to go the route, because they were going to otherwise get the price of demolition for all 3 structures on the site, and then the 2 structures, and then the house. So I think they're working on doing that too. I don't know the exact time frame that we're looking at here. Obviously, it's getting pushed more and more into a spring project, but Dietz has also been very willing to continue to work through the winter and at no additional cost for the winter work. They seem pretty committed to the project and want to get it done. They're just trying to understand where we're at on different things, and I'm doing my best to keep them.
All right. Thank you much. Wish you all the best. All right, commissioners, before we go to public comment, is there any other business to be raised at this time?
I just have one thing.
Yes, Mr. Manager.
Completely not really it's work related, but not critical or anything. If you walk around City Hall, you're going to see a lot of our doors are decorated for the holidays. So we're doing a kind of a department competition. And one thing that we did a little bit differently this year, our off-site locations, Public Works, the fire department, water plant, things of that nature, bless you, all have windows here. Have doors here that they've decorated, so that way everybody's included in it. It's not
they
just,
came here and
they,
did
yeah,
doors.
yeah, they came here
Okay.
and did doors. It wasn't just, so like the water department or water filtration plants right across the hall. So just if you're walking around and wondering, like, why are there so many more doors decorated this year? That's why.
Nice.
Yeah. So, like I said, kind of random, but just wanted to pass that on.
I like that. Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no other items, we'll go to public comment then. Anyone in the audience wish to give public comment at this time? No? We're going to go to phones. I'll read out that call number. It is 231-724-6721. So if you do have public comment at this time, you can call it in at 231-724-6721.
And then while we're waiting for that, Madam Clerk reminded me that tomorrow we have an open house for the CRC. Yeah, so, yes. But if you wanted to elaborate on that. So.
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to
Okay.
wrap that up.
Okay.
But we can do that now. So, yes, thanks for that reminder. While we're waiting for anyone to phone in, we do have a Community Relations Committee open house tomorrow, 4 to 5:30. That's an opportunity for members of the public to learn more about the various different boards, committees, and commissions. That's like Downtown Development Authority, to the Planning Commission, to the Construction Board of Appeals, or the Zoning Board of Appeals, or the Housing Board of Appeals. Got a lot of Board of Appeals. Board of Review, and the like. So if you're interested in serving on one of our committees or commissions that help, that work in concert with city staff to make recommendations or give guidance to the city commission on how to proceed, we welcome you to learn about that and to apply and be part of the governing process of your city. So most of the boards, committees, and commissions do have a residency requirement. Not all do. There are certain positions that maybe you have an interest in, such as the Downtown Development Authority, not an actual resident. There's a limited number of positions that are non-residency required, and you have an interest in. Similar thing for the Construction Board of Appeals, the Housing Board of Appeals, specific requirements for some positions such as mechanical, electrical, and the like. To learn more, though, you can go to ShirleyCity.com and look for, what's the tab, Madam Clerk? It's just boards and committees is the title, I think. If you go to ShirleyCity.com and then look for boards and committees, you'll be able to look up each of the different boards that exist
With the
and apply.
sign. You use the ampersand, it works better, the search.
Oh, ampersand, not typed out and.
Right.
Okay. Use the ampersand. It is helpful. Mike, are you going to ask what ampersand is?
Yep, Mr. Mayor, what's an ampersand? The reason I'm asking this question is because I was 37 years old before I knew that it had a name. And it's the little thing.
Yeah.
And
It's,
symbol.
The and symbol.
it always made me think of what's that? Oh, it is in there as well. A&E. If you look at the A&E
Yeah.
channel, the ampersand is between the A and the E.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to describe the ampersand. It's
Yeah,
another. It's a
me
symbol
neither.
for and.
But coincidentally, there's a restaurant chain in Washington, D.C. called Ampersand Pizza. But I was walking around saying, where's the and pizza? And everyone was like, what? This is a true story.
Oh, too funny. So you can go on the city's website and look up the different boards and committees, learn about them, and choose to apply for one or several committees. The Talent Bank application is available online. If you do not have access to computer or online, you're welcome to stop by the city clerk's office here at 933 Terrace Street and ask for information about the boards and committees, as well as a printout of the application that you can submit. And we'll put that on file. They're typically the most turnover on any of our boards or committees is January time. That's when terms are expiring, and the commission reviews those positions that are opening or expiring and deciding to reappoint or appoint new folks to them. But as vacancies come up throughout the year, there'll be another opportunity for appointments. And so if your Town Bank applications there on file, we'll draw from them throughout the year. Is there anything you wish to add to all that, clerk's office?
You did a great job.
All right. And we will have refreshments tomorrow. So
Yes, we will.
come learn and speak with our staff. Our staff's going to be here as well. So you can speak directly with our staff and about these different boards and committees and enjoy refreshments. Commissioner St. Clair?
Is there another open house tomorrow too?
There is. Well, it's to.
Well, it's part of our city commission meeting. So yeah, at the top of our city.
No.
What
Another open house. The terrace house.
Oh,
Sorry.
CNS.
CNS.
I was like, I thought you were talking about the
No, it's
outgoing
all
commissioner
open houses
ceremony.
all day tomorrow.
So, does
Apparently.
someone want to speak on the terrace
Leanne.
Anybody?
terrace home open? Oh, okay.
Nope.
Invite only to that open house.
All right.
I didn't get one.
And then also just a reminder, tomorrow is a general session. It's our last regularly scheduled meeting of the year. Unless circumstances require us to have a special meeting before year end, it's expected that tomorrow will be our last meeting of the year. We are going to have at the beginning of the meeting a recognition and honors for our outgoing city commissioners who will not be joining us or staying on in the new year. And then we'll have an organizational meeting and swearing in for our new commission on Wednesday, January 3rd at 5:30 here in the City Commission chambers. So please join us for the open house, the Community Relations Committee open house, under various different boards and committees at 4 o'clock. Stay for our general session meeting and help us celebrate our wonderful commissioners Emery, Hood, and Ramsey. So unless there's anything else, we never got any phone-ins.
We did not.
All right. Unless there's anything else, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by Commissioner Emery to adjourn. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you. Take care. Be well.
The remainder of South Central Lower Michigan. It was